through the day too.
Laura, thank you very much indeed. Omid Jalili joins us this morning. We wanted to talk to you, Omid, because you are, you're currently on tour at the moment, working through this, but you are affected in a number of different ways, like we all are, partly because you are the son of refugees yourself, aren't you?
That's right.
And also, of course, a comedian. At a time when who would have thought it? A comedian has become the war hero the world didn't realise they needed.
I'd be lying if I didn't say I was very jealous to see that he gets a standing ovation doing a Zoom gig, while I finished my Zoom gigs in the toilet saying, here's the sound of my career, and I'd press the flush. And, you know, and I look at the people in the gallery and they're just looking blank. So I'm very, very jealous. But this guy, he actually
President Zelensky.
Zelensky is amazing because he played a comedian who by accident becomes a president, and now he's a comedian who is a president. And what I love about him is he does have that righteous indignation of most comedians pre-writing a gag, because we feel that same kind of anger about the world, but then we write gags. But this guy is... His courage is extraordinary.
Well, also, he's a very effective writer, isn't he? He knew his audience yesterday. He referenced Churchill and Shakespeare.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he's a clever wordsmith.
He is, and I think that that's the thing that we didn't expect, that the Ukrainians are just standing up. And that's the beautiful thing right now. Being a child of refugees, I love the fact that, you know, there's been a lot made of the fact they're white people and it's really brought home the whole thing. But you have to realise that the people are not just economic migrants. You know, but if a British person goes somewhere, we don't call them a migrant, we call them an expat, you see. And I know that when my parents, because of the Islamic Revolution, they were religious minorities, they were Baha'is, which is a faith that grew out of Islam in the same way Christianity grew out of Judaism. So they were persecuted. So around 79, 80, they couldn't go back, because they always wanted to go back, but they stayed, and then I became a British citizen.
I'm not so sure it is about skin colour, actually. I think it's more about culture. But basically what we're seeing here is a Western-looking, a Western-leaning European culture, which we didn't really know much about until this started. Now we see Ukraine, the phrase that so many people are using is like us, in the sense that they are a Western-leaning democracy with the same kind of cultural lifestyle that we enjoy in this country. I think that's probably the identification that people are referencing.
I think what really hit home to me was someone said, my life here is now over, and it's terrible. I had a life here. I hope I can go back.
Well, given it's so goddamn serious, how are you working gags? Because you are working gags about what's happening out there into the
thank God I'm not known as a topical comedian, but
how do you squeeze humour out of a situation like this on stage?
Well, again, you feel that righteous indignation that Zelensky has, and then hopefully some humour can flow. Because, for example, Zelensky is so winning the publicity thing, because you see him, he's a comedian, he has his family, whereas Putin, I don't see him with a wife. The only image I've seen of him is him with a horse, okay, with his top off. And I'm not going to judge, I don't know if the horse was male or female, but if you're in a relationship with a horse, you know, they only want one thing, and that's shoes. So I think it's on his own head, really.
Do you know what? One of the things I think is everybody feels the weight of the gloom so heavily. Actually, we do need some respite, don't we? We do need to switch off. So comedy is a good opportunity to be able to do that and process what's happening.
I do notice that, you know, in America they used to watch The Daily Show to get their news, and I think what's happening is people are coming to comedy shows. Whereas before they'd laugh, but now they laugh and they snap their heads to each other, say, did you hear that? Did you get that? It's a communal thing. And whereas if you watch stuff digitally, as we did during lockdown, it doesn't have the physiological communal effect. So people come away and seeing the tweets afterwards, people saying, I feel uplifted, I feel excited. So it does feel like a very good time to
and there have been lots of parallels in the last couple of weeks between what's happening in Ukraine now and what happened in this country in 1940 when we stood alone. And the fact of the matter is there was no television then, but there was radio, and there was a lot of comedy on the radio about the war. What was the show? Itmar, it's that man again. Which kept people smiling in the darkest
But I do hope the most important thing is that we've had so many moments in history where we could have learned. After the First World War, we had the League of Nations, Second World War, United Nations. I really hope now that we see that the Earth is one place and we need to work together.
Google his name and you'll get the tour dates.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you, Omid. Back tomorrow at 6. Here's Lorraine.
Thank you both very much.